Valorant has been kinda crazy lately. VCT playoffs just wrapped up worldwide, and we now know all 12 teams who will be attending Masters Tokyo. There were plenty of upsets, some reverse sweeps, and some incredible plays, but after 9 weeks of non-stop Valorant, was it too much? Alright, so before I get into everything VCT, I just want to remind you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. That way you won't miss the next time that I'm back here talking about Valorant, which will probably just be next week because there are so many games. There's been no shortage of Valorant these past couple months, and this past week was insane. As someone who literally covers the game for a living, it was hard even for me to keep up. So for all the casual viewers out there, let me quickly get you up to speed. In Americas, EG shocked everyone and stole C9's Tokyo spot, but Demon 1 looked bummed out because he doesn't have a passport to even attend the event. Then Loud and NRG met in yet another grand final, and the Brazilians swept them to become the inaugural champions. Over in EMEA, Foot and Navi qualified, but the real surprise was Liquid taking down Fnatic in the grand finals, with Redgar going 18-8 and opening duels as the team's IGL and controller player. Lastly, T1 qualified as the 3rd seed in the Pacific region before Paper pulled off an incredible reverse sweep against DRX in the grand finals, and something fragged the out on Reyna. Whew, yeah. It was a lot. Playoffs definitely delivered, and even though I'm sad that C9 didn't qualify for Tokyo, it was cool to see teams like EG, Liquid, and T1 really hit their stride. But it was a grueling 9 weeks for all 30 partnered teams. They had to play 1 match every single week before jumping straight into playoffs, and some teams then had to play 5 more series, some of which were even best of 5s. FNS even tweeted after the grand finals and said that this season took everything out of them, and he even questioned why there's a 5-month break following champions. Boaster agreed and added that he wished there was at least a mid-season break. I think that both of these complaints are pretty reasonable. The time between lock-in and champions only spans 7 months, leaving 5 months for the Game Changers World Championship and any third-party events. But as someone who comes from traditional sports and primarily keeps up with the Premier League, 5 months is a long time. I usually only have to wait half that amount of time to watch United suit up again. And in just 5 months, Valorant can change drastically. Riot loves to shake things up with new agents, maps, and weapon balancing, so with a lengthy break, we might not even get the chance to see some of these new metas develop. I do think it's important to have an off season and maybe give tier 2 teams more events to compete in, but we still have no idea what those events might look like. Overall, this season has felt crammed, and even as someone who has watched Valorant non-stop since the beta dropped 3 years ago, it sometimes feels like too much. During playoffs, I could wake up and watch 12+ hours of Valorant each and every day across all 3 regions. I loved it, but I can't imagine what it's like for casual fans trying to keep up with their favorite teams, and it must be nearly impossible for them to pay any attention to the other regions. Valorant's head of global esports, Leo Faria, has commented on the offseason in the past on the Wiseman podcast and Plat Chat, and here's what he had to say both times.
Admittedly, we haven't put a lot of effort into the offseason yet, and we definitely want to do more. I know we have a quite long, which honestly I call quite healthy offseason because one, the reality is we want to give fans the opportunity to miss the sport, right? When people say, I miss Valorant, that's a good thing, right? We want to give people that opportunity because then when the season is on, it just feels that much more special.
He went on to add that Riot wants to try new things in the offseason and maybe even host events where partnered teams can compete against challengers rosters, and I think that would be pretty dope. We don't often see events like this in franchised esports, but luckily Valorant isn't franchised. Riot are the ones supporting these teams, and if anything, it'll just help bring more eyes to the tier 2 scene. Sure, it was just a preseason event, but it was cool watching the Guard play against partnered teams at the Tarek Ludwig Invitational, so I hope we maybe see more of that. But even if we do, 5 months is still an insanely long offseason, especially after lock-in already replaced what could have been a second Masters event. Teams definitely need some sort of offseason to relax and make roster changes, but 5 months? I still think it's too much. Luckily, next year will feature 2 splits, so I think that will help break things up and prevent some of the burnout that players and fans might currently be experiencing. As of today, we're only 12 days away from the start of Masters Tokyo. Fnatic, Liquid, PRX, and Loud have already qualified for the playoffs, but for everyone else, they're right back to playing starting June 11th. But if you're addicted to Valorant like myself and you're wondering what to do in the meantime, well, luckily Challengers Playoffs starts this week worldwide, so I guess I'll just be watching Valorant until the end of August. Yeah, instead of like having everything within like 7 months, I think doing like maybe within like 9 months would be good, and then giving like a 3-month off season like what the Premier League does basically, because you can still host events.
Like an international break where all the Valorant players go off and represent their countries, and
Yeah.
only the best ones, the rest of them get like a nice little break for a week, and the fans get a break for a week.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have talked about like a Valorant World Cup, and I think that would be cool.